And happy
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Yay.
Taco Tuesday.
Yeah, I know, man.
I one of these days have to make you some homemade tacos.
Yes, that sounds good to me.
Yes.
I love some tacos.
Yes.
So, how'd you all do today?
Hope you had a great day.
Yeah. And
We had a nice, pretty sunny day.
yeah, it was pretty nice. I was a little chilly this morning.
It was, which was really great.
You know, not looking forward to hot summers yet.
No. It'll be here before we know it.
We'll keep that down in Florida.
Yes. I'm sure that you guys want to get rid of that, too. Well, let me tag everybody on this fine Tuesday. I hope you guys are doing great.
Yeah.
No new news up here, so that's good.
Not really.
There. Okay, everybody.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. Thanks for joining us.
Oh,
So, it's 7:00.
And what does that mean?
It's time to read Matthew 7.
Chapter 7.
7. You do it like that. 7.
7.
It was a good chapter.
Yeah, it was.
Again, this one is in a lot of red, which means it's Jesus talking,
That's right.
which I think is cool.
Yeah.
Well, what's your first note, hun?
Well. Dum 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 dee dee dum. Okay, there. Let's see. Well, my first note is on Matthew 7:1, and it's talking about judge not that you not be judged. And then a lot of people take that as that we're not supposed to judge anybody completely, but that's kind of out of step with the rest of the chapter because in Augustine points out that in Matthew, the same chapter, 20, that we judge people by their fruits as well. So, in a nutshell, it's not saying that we don't use judgment, but we use discernment. In some ways, we use discernment with people. But the point is, we're not condemning them. And then it goes more into, I had to see what your notes are before I go farther. But we'll continue with that in a minute.
Well, my note is similar to yours. But John MacArthur was saying that there is a righteous kind of judgment, which we're supposed to exercise with careful discernment, like you said. And then censorious, hypocritical, self-righteous kind of judgment, which is the bad kind. And that's what he's talking about, is not judging, but we are supposed to have discernment. Because like it said, it's necessary to discern dogs and swine from one's own brethren. Because, in Matthew 7:6, well, which will be coming up too, but in John 7:24, it's just talking about you have to have discernment. And you guys remember when he talked about, don't throw your pearls before swine and, stuff like that. But like you said, you have to have discernment. Discernment isn't judging. You have to have wisdom to judge what's right and wrong. But judging just because of like being snobbery is wrong.
And quite honestly, everybody, you don't go through life without judgment or discernment or stuff like that anyway. I mean, we all make choices, and even if you have kids, and most of the time you discern where they're going to be hanging out, where they're not going to be hanging out, and things like that for good reasons.
Heck, even just the simple thing of like when you do go to the grocery store, like when you look at 2 heads of lettuce, you judge it because you want the one that's not wilty, you want the one that's fresher. And why? Because wisdom and experience shows you that the one with wilty is going to give you diarrhea. So you have discernment and judgment.
Nobody wants it. No, say no to the diarrhea. So that kind of goes on with the rest of, I don't know what you got marked next, number 3.
3.
You can go ahead and do number 3. Because
Okay.
that's what I was going to go to next anyway. Let's talk about that.
I just like this one because, this is a very familiar one to everybody, but, don't judge, don't see the speck in your brother's eye without first getting the log out of your own. We may say that so-and-so's got, something they're doing wrong when we've got 5 million things we're doing wrong, and we don't see that because we're looking at everybody else. So I just like that as a good reminder.
So that's kind of what's being said there, even from the beginning, is that just examine yourself first. And like in verse 5, I got a note there about saying Jesus didn't rule out speaking to fellow believers about their sins.
Right.
Because even in Matthew 18:15, he talks about if your brother sins against you, go talk to him about his faults. And the reason why is because talking it out, you want to work this thing out. So,
but probably don't be super critical where you're being silly when you have a whole list that need more attending.
Yeah. And like the summary of that one thing was just you check out your own walk before you talk about somebody else's.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, I had on verse 6, This principle governs how one handles the gospel in the face of those who hate the truth.
What's that principle?
Well, it's saying, because do not give dogs what is holy, and do not throw your pearls before pigs and swines. So it's just saying that you have to discern. Wait, what?
What?
What's the principle?
The principle.
This principle. It's this one. Well, let's see. This principle is why Jesus himself did not do miracles for unbelievers. This is to be done in respect for what is holy, not merely out of contempt for the dogs and swine.
Yeah, so not throwing something that's precious to nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't being silly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the principle?
Sounds like it.
Okay.
All right.
You're not supposed to question me.
I have to question you.
I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah. So.
14 is my next one.
Okay. And I thought verses 7 through 11 real quick, just to sum that up, was it's just amazing how God will, if our earthly fathers know how to give us good things, or people know how to give us good things, I mean, God even more knows what we need, and He always meets our needs, and so we should ask Him and ask Him for especially things we need and stuff.
I like that.
Yeah. Verses. Oh, I got one. Verse 12. I beat you.
Good.
So, verse 12 was interesting. It's actually basically the golden rule. Whatever you do, what you want somebody to do for you, you do for them, or kind of whatever. But I like how it says here, because it says, "For this is the law and the prophets," and it's kind of the same thing as like Jesus said, the second commandment when He was talking to I forget who He was talking to. Anyway, He said that the first greatest commandment is to love the Lord our God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength. But then He said the second commandment is like it: you shall love your neighbor as yourself, and that's what sums up the whole thing about God's Old Testament word, is that we're supposed to love God and love our neighbor as ourselves. So basically, that's the golden rule: is loving your neighbor as yourself. So.
Because to get all deep, but if we're made in God's image and we love God, because we're made in His image and stuff like that, then we would have to love our neighbors because we're all an image of God, and we couldn't not love our neighbors because blah blah blah.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
That's right. Yeah.
Hey, I want to tell you something on your verse 7:12. John MacArthur's note on that part. It was really cool because that turned a positive spin on it. Because John MacArthur's note was saying that versions of the Golden Rule existed before Christ in the rabbinical writings and even in Hinduism and Buddhism. All of them cast the rule as a negative command, such as Rabbi Hillel's version: "What is hateful to yourself, do not do to someone else." But Jesus made it a positive command, enriching its meaning and underscoring that this one is imperative, aptly summarizes the whole gist of the ethical principles, what you said. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that is
because
pretty
Jesus
cool.
does say it. He says it positive. He says on there, whatever you wish that others would do to you, do it also for them.
Yeah.
So you made it a positive twist, which I thought was cool.
And one other side note with that too is, and Luther was saying that this really wraps up the 3 chapters we've been talking about.
Yes.
It's all about how we love our neighbor.
That's good. That's
Really.
actually a really good way to summarize it.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool.
I like that. Well, I had a note on 14.
14.
Where it's talking about the narrow gate.
Yes.
So my note is
What about that?
that Christ continually emphasized the difficulty of following Him. You can see that in John and Acts. And salvation is by grace alone, but it is not easy. Because the reason that it's not easy is because it calls for knowledge of truth, repentance, submission to Christ as Lord, and a willingness to obey His will and word. So it's not easy, and it shouldn't be easy, because if we have to change, and so change is hard, and so we have to change those things. So I thought that was kind of cool.
That's that's good. And
Ding, 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 ding. I have 21.
21. I have. Okay, I can sum up 15 through 20 real quick.
Do it. Give it to us.
And it's talking about being aware of false prophets, and which is I thought I put a thing there, but really what's saying is being aware of false prophets. You're being aware of false doctrine, because that's what they're going to teach is false doctrine, and the way to constantly be aware of the truth. I think MacArthur said it was the way that people know the difference between counterfeit money and real money is they study the real.
Yes.
Because you think it'd be the other way around if you go through and look at all this different kinds of money. But if you study the real money all the time, then when you see something that's off, you'll catch it faster. And so when we read the Word and we study it, and it takes a while, but you just continue reading, and you'll hear something. You're like, Yeah, I don't know about that. So you kind of look through it a little bit more. So that's how you're aware of the false prophets.
That's pretty.
Yeah.
I like that. And we should all be happy about that because we're doing this together. We
Yeah.
are reading and getting stronger in God's Word together.
Yeah.
So I like that.
It is
That's
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, I did have a note on 21, and I know you have stuff on this part too. But Jesus is not suggesting that works are meritorious for salvation, but that true faith will not fail to produce the fruit of good works. This is precisely the point of James. Be doers of the word, not hearers only.
Yeah.
So you'll automatically change because you're listening and following God and listening to the word, but your doing doesn't change anything. You just change. You start doing because you change, but your doing doesn't get you grace.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And I like that because we just read James.
Yes.
And talking about faith without works is dead. And so that's pretty cool. All right, and then the last part of the chapter is about building your house on a solid rock.
That was really cool.
It really is. You got notes on that too?
I just have something at the very end, so go ahead.
Okay. So, okay. But it's talking about, Jesus says, everyone who hears these words of mine and does them. And that's, again, just like James is saying, be a doer of the word and not just a hearer only. And so we should be bearing fruit. And if you don't, it's kind of like, a guy who builds his house on sand. It's going to fall apart. But the thing about doing also is it strengthens and builds us. I mean, it's like working a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger you get. The less you do, you get kind of can't use it so much.
I like that.
Yeah,
it's true.
Like mine now. I don't use them that much.
That's not true.
Yeah.
You're a hard worker.
Yeah.
You're silly.
All right.
I had on the very last verse, when he was teaching them, as one who had authority, not as their scribes. My note on that is just that. The scribes quoted others to establish the authority of their teaching. So like they would say, well, so-and-so said and so-and-so said. So they quoted others to establish their authority.
Yeah.
But Jesus was his own authority. And so this matter of authority was a major issue between Jesus and the Jews because they felt their authority was being challenged because he was quoting himself. Like he was his own authority.
I get it.
He didn't have to say, well, in Abraham it said this. He was able to say, this is what God says and this is how it is. So he was his own authority where the Jews had to rely on somebody else. So they were really jealous of what it was.
Because he was the authority.
Exactly.
Okay, I got it. Oh, that's pretty good.
I thought that was neat. That was John MacArthur's note.
That's a good one. Well, that's it for chapter 7.
And I like how you put those articles on the Facebook page too. About today's was I just lost it. About the heaven?
Yeah, about Lord, or who'll be entering heaven.
Yeah.
And that is a tight, it's a kind of a scary passage if you don't really know the rest of it. But yeah, it was a good article.
It was. I like that you share that stuff.
Enjoyed it.
It's really cool.
All right, well, that's it. That's how it goes.
Aw, Mom, thank you. Mom said, you have your glasses on. You want to see what it says?
Thanks for sharing and all you put into it each day.
That's sweet. Thank you.
Thanks, Mom.
If you guys knew how nerdy we are on this stuff, I listen to notes, and Rick does a lot of research through the day. So
that's kind of funny because that last little bit was because Jesus didn't have to look in quotations. Most stuff, all my stuff is going back and looking in quotations.
That's funny.
That was a good point.
But thanks, Mom. We
Thank you very
appreciate that.
much.
We hope that everybody's enjoying these, and feel free to also, that's a good point that you bring up, is we'd love to get your guys' input on this stuff too. We don't want it to just be us talking, so
Not really.
we'd love to have you guys share your input too.
We're hanging with the fam.
That's
man.
right. It's a family thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
right, guys. Well, tomorrow's Matthew number 8, and we'll see you tomorrow on Wednesday.
Yes, we will.
4 and 4 is 8.
It
This
is.
way is 4 and 4 is 8, and 8.
What? It is?
I just drawn 8s.
8? Yeah.
8s.
Oh, I see.
Okay, bye guys. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Love you.